So if you already know what to do, where did that come from if it's innate? Where do those behaviors come from? So if it's an innate instinctive behavior, where did you get them? Where'd you get them? From your folks. Yeah, in your DNA, in your genes. So on this side, on the quiz that y'all just got back, what I did was I circled any correct answer. If there was any question that was missed, I circled the correct answer. But there were a couple questions in there, and it said something about acquired characteristics. So if you acquire them while you're alive, it's not instinct. It's not an adaptive behavior. It is learning. Okay, so that's the difference. Learning by experience, things that you get while you're alive. Now, we can base it upon and build upon but everything that's in this column are all straight up learning. Okay. All right, so the first one is, what I'm going to show you is like a little video clip, and then we're going to look and put the definition down. Okay, so the first one you're going to see is imprinting. Now, both of these examples that you're going to see, one comes from a cartoon, and the other is a real life example. So here is the cartoon version.
That's 5 to 10 right there. Then, cool.
All right, so their definition's at the top. So let's go to get the definition down beside imprinting. So this is any learning that takes place in the first 48 to 72 hours of life. Now there's some, it depends on the species totally, but this is what they learn within this critical period of time. So the best example of it with imprinting is figuring out who your species is, like who is mom. In this case, in the Ice Age example, is figuring out who mom is. So when they imprint, soon as these dinosaurs hatch, you're going to see what happens. So as soon as most birds hatch, especially geese and ducks and some of those fowl like that, the first moving object they see is mom. It didn't have to be a real person. I mean, it doesn't have to be the real mom. It could be any moving object they see, they think is mom. So likewise, if I'm a mom, then when I see my baby, then I'm imprinting on it too. So we had a cat who, she was real sick. So they had to put her to sleep, give her a C-section. Well, when they did that, they took the kittens out of her while she was still asleep. But when she woke up, because she never imprinted on those kittens, she never cleaned them up. She never had each one and cleaned them up. And she recognized them. They recognized her, even though their eyes were closed. They could hear her. She never would accept them as her own babies. Wouldn't do it because she didn't imprint on them. So imprinting is not only...
It's like dogs. If a human touch them before they get to their like each baby.
So it's like they don't imprint as their own. It's like something's disrupted that whole thing. So look what happens here, and then you'll see a real example.
I saw my little sister recognize her feet. For real. She got scared too.
What? I said, "Mama."
That's it. Mama. Doesn't matter. First moving object.
Yes, mommy. Here I am. There you go, nice squeaky baby. Oh, I got it.
Okay. All right. And then here, another one. puppy is clueless that this is happening.
And he was trying to get away, like, why?
No idea.
Chill.
But look what it does. It kind of beds down. It's like, are you my mommy? So the first moving object they see. So the guy that actually came up with all of this is Conrad Lawrence, and he did all this research on it. And what he noticed too is when geese, he worked with geese, and so when they're inside an egg at a certain time of development, it's kind of like when you were inside your mom's uterus. You couldn't hear it first, but at some point your ears in the third trimester, you could start responding to sound. So like if there was a loud noise, you probably tumbled over. It's believed that when you talk to a baby inside the uterus, and when they hear your voice, that they will start learning it inside there. And I've seen it with all four of my kids. Because I talk a lot, in my profession, they knew my voice. All I had to do was say something, their little neck would turn. So the same is true inside with geese. So you can talk, or the geese, if you're going to pretend to be the geese's mama, you can make the noise of like a female goose. And they will start listening to you and will know your voice inside that egg before they hatch. So that's all this is showing, is this is a real experiment. And it just shows how these geese have imprinted on this man.
For the first 2 years of their life, these chicks will think of him as mother. They'll trust and follow him above all others. It's a process known as imprinting, and it's something that many birds do from the moment they're born. A few hours later, the hatchlings are already following their oversized mother goose wherever he goes. Christian's ultimate goal is to film these chicks retracing the great journeys of wild birds from his microlight. It's a huge commitment that will continue long after the filming is over.
So if you had any like little stragglers in the behind, away from the mom, according to natural selection, what's going to happen to them probably? Yeah, predator, it's going to be easier for them. It's your safety in numbers, so it's going to be easier for them to get caught by a predator. That's part of why imprinting is important. So imprinting is the learning that takes place in the first 48 to 72 hours of life. So learning who mom and babies are during first hours of life. So think about ducks, geese, imprint on first moving object. Even if it is a tractor, if it's a lawnmower, it's a bike, that moving bike, and they think that's what they look like at first. So imprint on first moving object. Okay, the next one is conditioning. Okay, so classical conditioning. Conditioning is learning by association. So you learn to associate one thing for a behavior that you already know. Okay, so here's the example. Pavlov's dog. He trained the dog when it hears a bell, it's going to get fed. Okay, so what he did was he has this dog. He knows that when the dog smells food or sees food, it starts to salivate, it starts to drool. And so what he does is he takes the bell and he, in front of the dog, he shows him the food, and then he rings the bell. And then he gives him the food. And then the next time he does the same thing, shows him the food, rings the bell, gives him the food. So what is the dog going to associate a bell with? Food. So we do this all the time. And eventually he didn't even show him the food. He rang the bell and he starts to salivate because he's like anticipating getting that food. So when you associate one thing or something, so what's in school, what are some different conditioning that you've been experienced or you've been exposed to?
A bell.
Bells, the whole bells. You know that when you hear a bell, you either leave class or go to class. Okay, what's something else, especially in elementary school? What were some of the signs that they would condition you? What if, I know in Charles, England, they would do this. The hand goes up, what did that mean? Right. Or sometimes they would like cut the lights off. And then it was like, everyone, it's time to get quiet. Think about with animals or babies or in your own experience. Do you have any conditioning where an animal or pet has associated one thing for something else?
A snake.
Associates what?
Huh?
Like
Every
what?
time I tap on the glass, they come out.
Because it knows, what does it associate you with?
It associates me with, I don't know. When I tap, it just come out. I'll be like, it don't be out until I tap on the glass.
So when you tap, it's learned that noise means that you're coming for it, either to pick it up or to feed it or to interact with it. The trout back there, they've now conditioned that as soon as a person stands in front of that fish tank, they associate that person with being fed. So they start swimming towards the middle and towards the top. So they know that a person's going to feed them. What else? We used to shake the cat food box and the cat would come running.
Yeah, that's my sister's cat and my dog's.
So that's conditioning, So anyway, so that's how that one works. And I think we've got a little video clip with that. Let's see. It's awkward. Yeah. Okay, so this is a clip from The Office. Did y'all ever seen The Office? It's really funny. It's now on Netflix, but oh crap.
But they got some weird movies on Netflix. Especially the TV show.
Here's none of them want to work. Here, like this way. Gotta show you The Office one though. It's funny. All right. Okay, so what we got. Into white. I don't know if this is it or not. I think it is.
Damn, lost my file. Have to reboot again. Anyway, do you want to help it? What do you think?
Oh, I saw this.
In school, we learned about this scientist who trained dogs to salivate at the sound of a bell by feeding them whenever a bell rang. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been conducting a similar experiment. What? Oh, no? Okay. How's it? Sure.
We did this on.
Anyway, good, good.
What?
Yes.
Wait.
What are you doing? Well, I don't know. My mouth tastes he's so bad all of a sudden. Bar.
All right.
Bruh. Dead.
So he conditioned him. So learning by association.
But you only do that to a stupid person.
We do it all the time though. So you condition when you're setting your baby's circadian rhythm, like if a baby's born and they don't know what their days and nights are yet, and you have to set that night and day schedule. So what you do is, when they're trying to sleep all day, you wake them up, so they associate daytime with being active, not just sleeping. And then, you feed them and then you put them down, but then you wake them back up late, so you can shift their schedule. But at night, when we would feed our kids, we wouldn't turn on the light. What we would do is we'd keep the light really low if we needed a light, but we wanted them to know that this was night. So they associate wake with light and they associate sleep with dark. And we also didn't want them to associate noise with being like awake time. So we didn't want to just be quiet in our house because we wanted them to be able to sleep when they
That's how I think I am, because I can sleep through anything.
And that's a good thing in that, you didn't just associate, you have to have total darkness and total quiet, and because, so you kind of associate that. All right, so that is learning by association. All right, operant. Operant is reward and punishment. You reward behavior you want to continue. And punish or give a consequence, undesirable behavior. Okay, so all this is reward and punishment. So when you're teaching a dog to sit or teaching them tricks, one thing that we learned, because we got our dog at the pound, and so when there was a lady that would come out there and volunteer her time, and she was already teaching some of the animals how to sit and to associate like their bed with their place and things like that. So we didn't know that, but when we went out there and got this puppy, he was like 7 months old, and I said, sit, and he sat down. I was like, oh my gosh. And we found out that what the lady did, and she said, you do the same thing when you're trying to teach them not to pee or poop in the house, trying to potty train them, is that you just carry a bunch of treats. So reward. She said, not all dogs respond to a pop on the butt, but all of them respond to their stomachs. So if you think about it, she said, just carry a bunch of treats. You don't have to load them up and give them big, huge treats, but a little something. And she said, every time you take your dog out and say you want to go out, you make sure you have a treat in your pocket. So as soon as you put them out there and you tell them to go out there, as soon as they go to the bathroom, you give them a treat. And you do that every time. And if you do it and are consistent, that they will learn and will not go to the bathroom inside the house.
Train them in different ways.
And it works. But a lot of animals, like our animal, it was B. I know our animal was mistreated. So it would hurt his feelings. I mean, so we had to actually boost the confidence of our dog a little bit. But she said all dogs will respond to that food. So we did that. And then we taught them how to sit. We taught them to lay down. We taught them what place means. We taught them how to catch things. So, and, it's all because of reward. So what are some examples of this that y'all seen, either with your own animals or with kids? Or
chicken. When Wilson, my mom and dad, our chicken, it was a little, like small chicken that had fully grown. And we would treat it to like certain people that come to our house, or like anybody that we don't know, they don't know, it would like attack them. And every time we did, we would give them food. So it tells us if somebody's there or not.
You have a guard chicken. Yeah, there you go. I mean, you're rewarding what you want them to do. Why do we have laws? I mean, it's to, the fact that there are limits, because that's the punishment, trying to get, it's not anarchy. I mean, we're trying to get certain behaviors to be norms. You get a speeding ticket, It's just, we want the speeding to stop. It's not as safe. But, so anyway, so that's the whole operant. So here is an example from The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, man.
I love
You
this.
talking about that show? But that show is so corny.
It's great.
That's the corniest show in the world. It's funny, but it's corny.
There it is. Love this. Now the backstory, and he's going to refer to this, is the famous guy here is B.F. Skinner, and he had a maze and mice, and he would train the mice to go through a maze. So if they went the wrong way, they got a shot. If they went the right way, they got some cheese. So he was able to train them to go the right way.
And then he just put them in there, and they went.
And they just knew where to go.
There's a song in my heart, I feel like I belong. It's a better place since you came along.
What's this cartoon called again? Oshikuru Demon Samurai.
And it's not a cartoon, it's anime.
Anime. You know, I knew a girl in high school named Anime. Anime Fletcher. She was born with one nostril. Then she had this bad nose job and basically wound up with 3.
You're here a lot now.
Oh, am I talking too much? I'm sorry.
Thank you. Chocolate?
Yes, please. Oh, hey, Kim. Yeah, you know what? Hold on. Let me take this in the hall. You'll never guess who they got to replace me.
Okay. I know what you're doing. Really?
Yes. You're using chocolates as positive reinforcement for what you consider correct behavior.
Very good. Chocolate?
Sheldon, you can't train my girlfriend like a lab rat.
Actually, it turns out I can.
Well, you shouldn't.
There's just no pleasing you, is there, Leonard? You weren't happy with my previous approach to dealing with her, so I decided to employ operant conditioning techniques, building on the works of Thorndyke and B.F. Skinner. Yet by this time next week, I believe I can have her jumping out of a pool, balancing a beach ball on her nose.
No, this has to stop now.
I'm not suggesting we really make her jump out of a pool. I thought the bazinga was implied. We're just tweaking her personality. You're sanding off the rough edges, if you will.
No, you're not sanding any.
Are you saying that I am forbidden from applying a harmless, scientifically valid protocol that will make our lives better?
Yes, you're forbidden.
Bad, Leonard.
Reward and punishment. All right. So the next one is habituation. This is when you stop responding to unthreatening behavior. Okay. This is the cry wolf effect. So you get used to something and you no longer respond to it. Okay. So you get used to so a good example is you have a fish over in a fish tank and they've been in this fish tank for a long time and you're like tap, 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 tap. And the fish just stop flinching. They just look at you and keep swimming. Another example would be like when animals that are around a lot of people, they get real used to being around people. So they don't, as long as they haven't been harmed by people, then they're just going to continue to get kind of used to it. That's why they tell us this, along with operant, about don't feed wild animals. They tell you not to do that. So like with bears or, really any wild animals, don't intentionally feed them because they're going to start associating, so conditioning, associating people with food, but they still are wild. but they're associating you with food. But they're also think as long as we don't hurt them, they get used to people and they don't see us as threatening. But it still doesn't mean that they wouldn't attack if they feel threatened. So it's, they say just kind of try not to feed any wild animals at all. That's, well, the same thing. You're buying a wild animal. But another example would be, we used to have a ton of squirrels around here before we had that hawk, because our hawk has kept our squirrel population down big time. But we used to have a lot of squirrels, and they were they figured out, which will be the last one, this one here, is they figured out that they gnaw on the garbage cans that you push the little flap to put your garbage in. Any garbage cans around here that you see that has one of those, that part of it's gnawed off, they figured out that if they gnaw on that little flap, they can hop into that garbage can and get out. So they figured out that first thing is you could walk right next to one of those squirrels and they wouldn't run away. So they were getting used to us. That's this. But then they figured out I can actually gnaw a little hole in that flap so I can get into that garbage can and get food and then come out. So the last one is innovation, and that is coming up with a new way of doing something. So this is problem solving, and mammals do it best. So developing a new way of doing something. And sometimes, these behaviors get passed down in a group. So an example of that would be, there was an experiment, and y'all know what like a two-way mirror, like window is, where you can't see out, but someone else can see you. And so what they did.
I got one of those, but it's like they separate my room from my mom.
So like so you can see one way, they can't see the other way. So what these biologists did, or behavior people, is they had just an empty room. Totally empty room, except there was a stack of boxes in the corner. There was a banana hanging from the ceiling up high, and a chimpanzee. So they put the chimp in this empty room, except there's boxes in the corner, and there's a banana hanging up there, and there's a two-way mirror. So they can see everything, but the chimp can't see them. So the chimp's walking around and, see the boxes, and they're watching all this, and he notices that banana's hanging from that ceiling. And so he gets up underneath it, it's jumping up several times to try to get it, realizes it can't get it. Eventually it looks around and sees those boxes, takes a box, moves it over, climbs on it, hops up, still can't get it. Goes to get another box, stacks it up, gets on top. It did that until it could get that banana down and eat that banana. So that's innovation. Innovation, we are great at that as humans. So we come up with new ways of doing things. That's what we have. Everything from the desk you're sitting in to any technology, any houses. I mean, think about how far we've come. So all of that's innovation. Okay. So what we're going to do is split you. Let's split, since we have an even number, let's get two groups, and each group will act out two of these. Okay. Instead of doing three groups, doing one each. So we're just going to split you down the middle. Okay, so you guys and you guys. Okay, so you four. So choose two of these types of learning, and you're going to act them out. Okay, but you only have maximum of 10 minutes to come up with what you want to do. You have to use props, and you can be people or you can be another animal. Okay, doesn't matter to me. Right? So y'all get together and decide, and then tell me which two you want to do. Since we only have 9 minutes, we're going to do it kind of quickly. So y'all let me know as soon as you know which ones you want to act out. So Alexis, join these ladies. I guess y'all have a 3-person group. Okay. All right. So y'all figure it out real quick, and we'll act them out. Okay. right?
That's usually not a joke or real once.
Oh, I think it's just because I pushed the ball. That was so slow. Yeah, let's do that. That's in my head.
All right, the same rules, minimal words, either no words or minimal words. Okay, so no narration or anything. Accent. And then what's the last? How you want to do it? What's the last?
I broke this. Now
If y'all need props, go grab anything, make what you need.
we gotta pick two.
She's already picked them.
Oh, you did one I did. No,
Why is he talking out loud? You just
no. Good